Everyone. So welcome to my brief lecture video on research in criminal justice. And I know this definitely seems weird as far as like a subject is, and why is it relevant to talk about here. So I should probably explain a tiny little bit. Research in criminal justice can mean one of two different things, and I'm going to cover both of them. So the first one is, well, quite literally research, as in you're trying to find information that would be relevant to the study of criminal justice. And so obviously we have our library website, which you've likely seen in other classes before. And we have, EBSCOhost, which is an academic database. And that's a great place to find information. By all means, it does have a lot of, articles, journals, books that could be useful in that academic study of criminal justice. But there's more than just that. And that's kind of what I'm hinting at and what I'm kind of pointing forward. So, one of the things I want to say is that if you are planning on continuing on and into a 4 year degree or even further, you're going to need to know how to do research. And if you haven't done, not criminal justice, if you have not done college composition 2, which is really focused on the research process, it's important that you know the basics, how to find things, how to use keywords, things like that. So this is my very brief, less than 2 minute explanation. When you're doing research, there's a couple things to remember. Number one, don't try to find the perfect source. It usually doesn't exist. You want to find things that are related, that have important information that you can kind of compile together and create a formed idea. The other thing with research is no matter what you're doing, don't do the cliche Google, let me just ask the question. That often doesn't give you the answer you're actually looking for. You want to use keywords and phrases. You want to break down your ideas into researchable, smaller pieces of information that you can kind of follow the thread. So, like I said, the very basic general EBSCOhost, which is through our library we have access to, that's one way to do it. The other is, so completely serious, you can always Google information. Google and Google Scholar is absolutely fantastic. It does provide a lot of things. Google Scholar has a lot of specifically case law. So if you are planning to go and become a paralegal or going to be a lawyer or anything like that, that's going to help you because it's going to have a lot of those types of cases that you're going to want to look at. Now, I have up here the NIJ. So this is the National Institute of Justice. This is actually run through the Department of Justice. This is an official government website, and it is essentially a repository of scientific articles about justice, about criminal justice. So it is a overall, wide-reaching thing. So it includes actual research, applications for research, things like if you happen to be in a what do I want to say? If you're in a graduate program and you're doing research, so there's the Graduate Research Fellowship. This is run through them. Like I said, these are current funding for projects specific through the National Institute of Justice, which is through the Department of Justice, but they also have, access to actual, full-on articles, information, research that's been done. It can help point you in direction of research that's being conducted currently. So this is a great way to kind of look at it. Just clicking artificial intelligence, look at that. So August 2024, human decomposition evaluation, a standardized approach for staging and scoring morphological features using artificial intelligence. So right there, it's a dissertation thesis. So it's a high-level academic paper about using AI in this way. CPU tech hardware classification and performance prediction using neural networks and statistical learning. from 2020, and this is just research. So while it is applied empirical research, this was a thesis or dissertation, this was not. There's little distinctions like that, but this is a great way to find out what is going on in the field of criminal justice from a academic standpoint, and not just from an academic standpoint, but one that the federal government is keeping track of, that's funding, that's aware of what is going on. So by all means, this is always a great place to look. And if you can't ever remember the NIJ, you can always just type up criminal justice research, and it's often one of like the first four sources that shows up on any Google search. But speaking of Google, this is where I kind of shift gears a little bit and say, Google is your friend. Whether you are trying to find a particular career, a particular job opening, or whatever else, the internet is your friend. I know that sounds weird, especially from me to say, because I'm usually very much like, you want to be careful. Almost all of our government jobs, almost all of our criminal justice jobs, a lot of jobs anymore, they do post online. Are there absolutely ghost jobs? Yes. Those are not real jobs. But in particular fields that are, public service, those aren't ghost jobs. Those are just jobs that take a long time to get filled because there's a lot of requirements. So by all means, if you're not sure, look up specifics. Google does a pretty good job of getting the information you need. Now, I do want to say, because a lot of criminal justice careers tend to be under the the state government, the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Statistics and all that other fun stuff, there is, employment.pa.gov, which is, our actual, not federal, our state government. But it breaks it down into specific types of career options and their employments. So you can see this is not just criminal justice. This is any degree. So while it's useful to you being my students in criminal justice, this might also apply to some of you who are not quite sure where you want to go moving forward, but it is worth looking at these because these are the actual possible careers that are currently available within the state of Pennsylvania, and then obviously you can narrow it down. You can narrow down your search to only look at Erie County, or maybe you want to look only in Crawford County, so you narrow it to Crawford. Maybe you want to move to Philadelphia. You can look at just Philadelphia or just Pittsburgh. You can search. You can add limits to find what kind of jobs are available. But the other reality is, Indeed, Monster, any of the online websites that post jobs. So I literally just put criminal justice and put my location as Erie, PA. And legitimately, there are options that show up. Now, I will say the BPA position is not specifically Erie. It is Pennsylvania. And one of the requirements of signing up for BPA would be moving to a zone that needs it, which means moving out of state. So I'm telling you that now. If you're like, oh, they're hiring and this is a pretty decent salary to start, I'm game. Know that you are likely going to not only have to pass all the requirements and the clearances, you're going to have to move. But outside of that, you'll notice police officer for St. Vincent Hospital, law enforcement instructor. Technically, none of you, I think, are able to do that. Juvenile justice case manager, security officer for Erie Insurance, corrections counselor at Albion. Slightly farther, we have Chautauqua County, New York corrections officer trainee, assessment case manager specialist for Meadville, for Crawford County drug and alcohol, security medical custom protection officer for Allied Universal. This one, adjunct faculty for justice studies and human services. Again, none of you are technically at that point yet. probation support technician, corrections officer. So you see there are options. And at least in this view, one thing I like is that when you click on a job, it does open this side view where you can see, the actual details. So you can go through the job description. And this is where I tell you, finding out what you need for a job, I can't say this more clearly. You have to look at the job. You have to read the job description. They will tell you what you need. Look at this. The job posting on Indeed, essential responsibilities. They tell you exactly what you're supposed to do while you are on the job. Here's the education. Required high school diploma or GED. Preferred bachelor's degree in criminology. You will have an associate's in criminal justice. That's not quite a bachelor's degree, but that's a step up from high school diploma. So you got this. You get one extra thing. It may not be that preferred, but it is something that puts you a step ahead other potential applicants who only have the diploma or GED. Experience. Realistically, they want 3 to 5 years in security, which I understand. So if you have not worked it previously, this is not the position for you, but you can see, hey, they want security experience. So if this is a role you want to go into, you're going to need some previous experience. So then you start narrowing down to what you need to do. Remember how we said you're setting realistic goals? This is a realistic goal. If I want to be a police officer for St. Vincent Hospital, and I know I need 3 to 5 years in security, I'm going to try to find a security job that I can work for the next 4 years. If I start in 3 years and then I apply again, I'll have that 3 years under my belt. That'll help. So that's part of it. So then almost all of the jobs, and I will say this, for the most part, every job in criminal justice will have required licenses or certificates. You'll need some kind of proof of whatever. And it has to do with a lot of times security and a lot of times background checks. So for this job, it tells you need the PA Act 235, Act 34, Act 33, Act 73, and the CPR AED within 30 days of being hired. They tell you exactly what you need. So you're going to need the criminal background check, you're going to need the child abuse clearance, you're going to need the FBI fingerprinting criminal background clearance. Those are 3 that you can get fairly easy. They are available online. Not the fingerprinting. You can sign up for it and then you have to go in person. It's a whole process. But the idea is that if you are looking at a job and it says you need these things, that's what you need to do. Remember how we said gathering artifacts, gathering your clearances and things like that? This is what I mean. If this was the job you are applying for and you know you need these things, I'd say, obtain within 90 days of hire. That one might be on the back burner until you actually start the job. But those other 3, the Act 34, 33, and 73, get on it. Immediately get those prepared. And then, of course, CPR, it says within 30 days of hire. You can look for a class, find out, apply. If you get it, you take it, you get that certification. Those are the steps I'm talking about. This is what I mean when I say research. It's not just finding out what is available or what research has been done. It's also what do you need to do to get hired. So by all means, use Indeed. Use any of those online sites. Heck, go to the individual places websites. A lot of those places will either have an employment option on their website or they will direct you towards where you can find that. So I'm going to give an example there here in a second. So they say preferred, they want Act 120, which is municipal police training. Right there. It tells you it's preferred, it is not required. So legitimately, this is what I mean when I say research for a job. Now, real quick, clearances, because it's important to note. So the the state government for Pennsylvania does have use an online system for a lot of the background checks. I know because I have to get these fairly regularly because I coach children, so I have to have these things. But yeah, legitimately, depending on whether it's for a job or volunteer, will change that. But the reality is, this is the system. So right now, this one I'm looking at is through educators clearance background checks because that's what I use most frequently. But by all means, you can go by agencies. You can, go down to what exactly you need. So, public safety, because that's what criminal justice is under, is public safety. So, boom, I've just narrowed down the agency category. So we have state police, Department of Corrections, state fire commissioner, emergency management, crime victims website, Ready PA, juvenile court judges, state inspector general. So we have all these particular offices. They're all under the public safety. We go to state police. All right, look at that. Lots of information. Criminal record and DNA, expungement, employment with PSP. I wonder if I click on this, if it's going to help me. The answer is yes. If you want to know about how to become a Pennsylvania State Trooper, their information is all on their website. Liquor enforcement officer, civilian employment, which means a non-commissioned officer, but still something working within it. This is what I mean when I say research. Don't say, I want to do this, and then that's it. You gotta look. I can't find your job for you. You have to be the mature adult. You have to be the responsible person and go out and look for it. And by all means, I can help you point in the directions that might work best for you. But this is why we say research, because you need to do it. It needs to be self-motivating. Okay? So, by all means, like I said, this is just one example in the grand scheme of things. Look at that. Popular topics under the PSP. Request a criminal history background check. You click on it and boom. It tells you, here's the patch site, which is where you go to get that. And you follow the steps. And you request a criminal background check. That is how simple it is. I promise. Now, as I always say, if you have questions, please reach out to me. The purpose of me talking about this research and focusing on this right now is essentially to help you figure out what the heck you want to do. This is my direct speaking to my students who aren't sure what the future holds and are still kind of up in the air because they've said to me several times, I don't know what I really want to do. This is the time to figure it out. You got several weeks before this class is over, and technically you will be ready, hopefully, to graduate. Use this time to figure it out. What do you want to do? What's out there? What are you interested in? And let me tell you, this is me being 100% honest. Don't worry if the job that you are looking at right now is not your end goal. I want you to focus on the end goal. But if you know that your end goal is going to take a little bit longer, that you're going to have to take some other steps to get there, you're going to have a couple other jobs, factor that in. What do you need for June? Because that's the reality. You're graduating at the end of May. June, you're on your own. What are you going to do without EC3? What is your next step? I urge you all now to start doing that research if you haven't already. If you are trying to figure out your next steps and you're not sure if you need school or if you just need, some clearance, that's fine. Look up the job, and if you're still not sure, you can always say, Mr. Wheaton, I was looking at this job and I couldn't find information. Can you help me? I can try to help you find some more information on what is required for you. But that's it. That's all I have about this. Because research is discovery. It's self-discovery. You got to do this. So figure out what you want to do. And by all means, you can always use me as a soundboard. You can always ask me questions. You can try to get feedback on what I suggest. That's that. Thank you very much. I will see you all in the next video.